Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have a doll repaint. Hey, long time no video. I don't know guys, just having a baby makes it hard to do things. But I did a thing. I painted a doll and this is a fashion doll. I have not painted a fashion doll in a minute. For some weird reason, I've just been painting BJDs lately when I do paint anything. So I'm so excited to paint a fashion doll again. So I figured to get back into it, I wanted to do one of my favorite hybrids of dolls. And that is a Barbie Extra mini head and a Cave Club body. The last time I painted this hybrid, I did my black sheep doll, and that doll has digidegrade legs. I wanted to create this doll and just not have any of those mods on it because I just wanted to kind of show off the hybrid because I just really like the proportions of this head on this body. So what are we doing? I really like making fantasy creatures. I just think it's fun and I like designing them. So let's do that. And I figured these proportions would be really cute for a Pixie doll. Also, since it's like hot as hell here, I figured let's get in the spirit of summer. So she's a summer Pixie. The last time I worked on this doll, I learned that their hair melts with heat, and I didn't really like that, even though I love this color. So I decided to chop it off, and we're gonna be rerooting her. Since we're gonna be giving her a new body, I have to heat up her head with some hot water and yank that shit off. Can I just say also that I hate the Barbie Extra mini bodies? I just feel like this ain't it, sis. They got weird proportions. I don't like it. I feel like they would look so much better on like a body kind of like the Cave Club bodies, or maybe even like a little bit different but like that height. To loosen up all the glue plugs, I scrape around the inside of her head with a screwdriver, and since her neck hole is really tiny, I cut a slit into the back of her head and pull out the glue plugs with glue pliers. I forgot to include this, but I did sew up that slit with a needle and thread. I wiped her paint off with some 100% acetone, and I always try to do the thing where you like press it down and then you flip it over and the eye is there, and it never works for me. Look how sad. We're going to be giving her auburn hair, so I paint her scalp with a corresponding acrylic paint. I just really like tan skin and auburn hair. I think it's like real cute, you know? This is one of my favorite acrylic yarns. It brushes out really pretty. It just looks like it's like a natural wave, so I don't straighten or anything, but I just wrap that around this thing and then I brush it out, and we're going to be rerooting with it. I cut a bit off once it's brushed out, and I loop that around my finger, and then I loop it around my reroot tool, and I plunge it into the head. Once that hair is all rerooted, we're going to take Fabri-Tac glue, and I'm squeezing that in through the neck hole, and this just sets it in place. We gotta snatch that body yaddy yaddy from the Cave Club doll, so I heat up the head with a blow dryer and just yank that shit off. We're gonna do the wings, and I like making magnetic wings because I just feel like they're low commitment. So if I want to make her not have wings, I can just snatch them off. But I am marking where I'm going to be putting that magnet, and I'm drilling a hole into her back. I drilled it like kind of too wide, and it was messing or almost messing with the movement of the arms. Like they felt like they were gonna like pop off. So I was like, okay, let's stop here. So it's not completely flush, the magnet, but it's about as close as I could get it. To secure that magnet in place, I'm going to be using epoxy sculpt, and I'm just like mushing it together, and then I'm putting a little bit in the hole, and I'm going to put some around the magnet as well. I smooth the epoxy to the skin with this sculpting tool, and to make it so that it's not as textured, I take a little bit of water and smooth it out. I sanded that down, and I painted over the epoxy with acrylic paint that I matched to the skin tone. While I was sanding, I sanded off her panties, and it gave it like this kind of ashy effect, which I'm not crazy about. So to get rid of that, I'm using matte varnish, and I'm just putting that over all the places on the plastic that I sanded. So 2 years ago, I printed out these wings on transparency paper to use for my Dream Fairy boy doll. I didn't use them for that project, so I figured why not use them for this one? But my silly self So for that project, I glued 2 pieces of this transparency paper together because there was iridescent cellophane in between them, sandwiched in between. So I just did that for this one, and it didn't occur to me that that's completely unnecessary. I didn't need to glue the 2 pieces of transparency together because I'm not using iridescent cellophane. So I guess it enhanced the color, which is cool, but it was just completely unnecessary. So anyway, I cut them out, and I'm gonna be securing a magnet on them with super glue. I wanted to glitter the wings, so I did. So I took some Elmer's glue, I put that all around the magnet, and then I put the glitter on top. I also added some glitter just throughout the wings, kind of sparsely. I spray the doll 3 times with Mr. Super Clear, waiting 15 minutes between each spray. I'm wearing a respirator mask, and we get into the face up. We begin the face up with what is my opinion the most important part, the eyes. I sketched those on with a very, very sharp red watercolor pencil. I add the waterline and wrinkles around the eyelid. I just really feel like this brings an eye to life. I don't think they're details that everyone adds, but I think they really bring an eye together and make it look like it has character or a little bit more of a realistic style. Oh, I wanted to show you guys, I finally found the white Caran d'Ache watercolor pencil. I've been looking for this dumb thing for like years, but my Blick never had it in stock, and then I went to some like obscure art store and they had it, so I snatched that thing up. But it works really well. I don't really think it works better than my Derwent white, but it's a nice white. To blush her cheeks and around her face, I use a rose pastel. I wanted to try a new lip technique, so typically I just fill in the lips with red pastel like all over them, but I wanted to try to tap some on the very middle of the upper and lower lip, and that's it. After completing this doll, I don't know if I like this over my old lip method, but like I think it looks alright. I am also taking a spiky brush and a more intense red. I believe it's the same red that I'm putting on the lips, and I'm tapping that on the very middle of the cheeks. It gives the cheeks sort of like a blotchy, blushy look, which y'all know if you've been around this channel for a minute, I love. I shade around her lids with a brown pastel on the inner and outer corner. This just makes them look a little bit more 3D. On tan skin tones, I like adding a bit of green around the forehead, the eyes, the lips. I feel like it makes it look like there is kind of an olivey undertone because it looks intense now, but when I spray the MSC, it's gonna dull down a lot. I like giving dolls veins, so I'm gonna do that. So I add some branch-like pencil marks with a light blue colored pencil around the eyes and the forehead and the ears. I have this dark rosy nude watercolor pencil, and I'm going to use that to fill in her waterline. I love freckles on tan skin, which is funny because it didn't occur to me that I literally did this. I did freckles on my black sheep doll too, but I'm splattering brown watercolor on her face. At first I filled in her eyes with this warm brown. I end up kind of over highlighting them a little bit too much so they turn into yellow in the end, but for right now I'm just filling it in. To intensify the color, I tap brown pastel on top. The reason why I did that different lip effect where I tapped it in the middle with a Q-tip and pastel is because I wanted to see if it made the lip wrinkles look a little bit more prominent. So I am adding those in with a dark red colored pencil. With black pastel, I tap some of that on the inner and outer eyelid just to give them an even more deeply shaded look. Since there is all that shading on the eye, they did lose their highlights a little bit, or their light, so I'm bringing that back with a sharp nude watercolor pencil, and I'm just creating lines like around the eyes and also around the lips. The lips are basically the same idea. I added all that color to them and I want to bring in some highlights for lip wrinkles, so I'm adding some lines just flicked down on the bottom mostly, but also a little bit on the top with a rosy nude. I think it's the same color that I used on the waterline actually. For brow hair, okay, I always love a thick brow, like it's kind of my passion, but I wanted her to have a thick brow, but like a wild brow. She kind of looks like a leprechaun in the end. I'm just flicking some real crazy hairs coming out from that eyebrow. To intensify certain highlights on the lid, I went back over those pencil lines with a little bit of paint. I'm not going over like completely all of them. I'm just like kind of tapping some highlights in certain areas. Again, we want that really intensely wild brow, so I'm adding in even more flicks of hair with brown watercolor paint. With a really, really light brown paint, I'm flicking out lines radiating from the pupil to create like a highlight and that sort of iris texture. You can see it so intensely here, like when I'm done, like that looks so highlighted, right? But when I spray it, it completely disappears. So I ended up going on top of that with yellow. I tap black pastel underneath the eyelid to make it look like there's a shadow under there. She has brown freckles and I was like, you know what? She's a fancy lady. Let's give her some gold freckles too. This is the point when I start brightening up those line highlights on the eyes with yellow paint. And I feel like it really just makes them pop a bit more. To make the lashes even more intense, I go over them with black watercolor. The funny thing about this footage right here is that the footage right now is actually sped up 3 times, so imagine how slowly I'm doing this. doused her face in Pearl X pigment, the macro pearl one, and also the coppery one on her lips, as I do with literally every doll. I just love Pearl X pigment. I think it gives such a pretty effect to the skin. With my metallic gold watercolor paint, I'm going on top of a couple of the lines on the eye with that metallic gold. Not all of them, I just want a couple areas to be accentuated. I went over top of her lash line with a copper metallic watercolor. And I just generally like adding pops of color on top of black, so I'm taking some copper Pearl X pigment and tapping that on top of her pupil. The very last step is white highlights on the face, and I'm adding just a simple dot for the catch light on the eyes. I decided that I like the eye details a lot, so I didn't really want to take away from it or cover them up in any way with the catch light. To finish up the face, I put Tommy gloss on her lips. This is the outcome of her face up, and I really like it. Moving on to body blushing, I'm just blushing the body with the same tones that I used on the face, on the body. I also added the like gold dots. I did like gold freckles on her face. I added more so just like kind of clusters of dots around the skin on the body, but I really like how it turned out. Here's the end result of her face and her body blushing, and I just love this hybrid. It's so cute. On to shoes. So I'm just making her some simple shoes out of Warbler. They're like slip-ons. I am doing the sole first, and I am just molding that to the bottom of her foot in the shape of it. I cut this piece of Warbler that I'm going to be draping around the foot. When it gets to the soles where they connect, I'm just pinching them together. I paint that shoe with metallic gold acrylic paint. I want to be able to lace the shoe up her leg, so I'm stabbing 2 holes on either side of the shoe and stringing a piece of thread through it. As a final touch, I super glued a pom-pom to the front. Onto the bodysuit. So we're gonna make her a little Pixie bodysuit thing, and I'm using this gold fabric as the main part of the bodysuit. Just ignore this like starry tulle fabric. I was gonna use it and then I opted not to, so just push that aside. I'm gonna be hemming everything. I hem everything with glue because I am lazy. Also, I just like the clean edge of it, but mainly I'm lazy and it's really fast. I sew the front and the back together at the side seam. These are the booba cups to her bodysuit, and I'm going to be sewing a dart in the middle of it. I sewed those cups to the front of the bodysuit. I'm sewing up the other side seam and we're almost done. But I wanted to add a little bit of ribbon to her little leg holes, so that's what I'm doing with this pink ribbon. I'm also going to start going in with more colorful stuff because she's a summer pixie. Like, look at that green tulle, isn't that nice? And I'm going to be adding some glitter to the front of her bodysuit and also the back. I'm honestly doing this because I accidentally had a little rip in the bodysuit, and this is to cover it up, but it ended up looking real cute, so that's great. I'm taking the same glitter that I used on her bodysuit and I'm putting it on her cheekbones. I'm also going to be putting that on the body as well. We love a flower hat here, so we're going to make one for her. I'm cutting out the shapes of the flower out of cotton fabric. I then start adding details to the flower, so I'm painting these on with acrylic paint, and I'm just adding shadows and highlights. Where the flower folds, I'm adding shadows. Where it kind of pops up a bit more, I'm adding highlights. I think I forgot to mention, but I added even more intense shadows with an alcohol-based marker and added some of those very bright white highlights with a gel pen. I'm doing literally the same exact thing to the leaf part of the flower. Once I'm done adding details to the flower, I'm curling up the petals at the very end, and I'm gluing that leaf part onto the flower part with Fabri-Tac glue. The hat is done and I secure it to her head with pins, and I'm also going to be adding little rings to her hair. I did braid her hair up, and also off camera I have this rainbow ribbon that is leaves. Got this off Amazon, and I'm just sewing that around the outfit that I have. Finally, we are on to the finished doll. Woo! I love making fairies. I also love making pixies. It's just a lot of fun for me, so I had a lot of fun working on this. Do you guys have a favorite hybrid that you've repainted? Because again, I love hybrids. I love kind of mixing and mashing things and trying to make them as aesthetically pleasing to me as I can. I took a picture of her with my black sheep doll, actually, which you guys will probably see. And it's so interesting seeing them next to each other because they are the same base. Anyway, guys, that's my summer pixie. I hope you guys like this video. It is about time for me to go to bed because I'm literally falling asleep during this voiceover. I get up so early nowadays. But anyway, guys, like this video if you like this video, subscribe, it makes me happy, and I hope you guys are having a beautiful day. Bye!